Well, this is it. The ultimate guide for augments inside Black Ops 6 zombies. Well, at least until they add more augments, which is actually going to happen soon. But regardless though, this is going to give you a good idea of every single augment that you should be running in the game. But to be clear here, this video isn't just simply saying, oh, this is my favorite major, this is my favorite minor, always run that. No, I'm going to go into more depth. If any of these augments have another use or specific strategy for it, I want to bring that up. And that's the point of making this the ultimate guide to it, showing you how every single one is useful in different ways, and also ignoring the completely useless ones, or I guess I should say the ones that haven't found a use just yet. Now, of course, there is so many augments in the game. There's like 108 or 118, something like that. So I'm bound to miss something. So definitely head down to the comment section and tell me if I missed something and overlooked something or just anything like that. I'd love to hear that because I also want to know the most about these augments. Now, if you are looking for one specific item in its augments, of course, there's timestamps. Scroll through those, find what you're looking for, and then bounce. You can do whatever you want. It's up to you. But I will say this video took me a ton of work to do between research, testing, recording, all of that just took a ton of work. So I would really much appreciate if you guys showed any support you can. Drop a like, subscribe, bell, share, and if you want to go the extra mile, maybe even join the channel. But this intro has been going on for too long, so let's wrap it up and get right into this ultimate guide for Black Ops 6 Zombies augments. Now, for stamina, the main augment I would recommend is going to be Dasher. Increase your tactical sprint duration, and this is obviously really good because it just helps you move around the map a lot faster. Now, how much does this actually increase your tactical sprint duration? It's about a second longer compared to what it would be without it. And if you guys don't think that's enough, that's understandable. And if you guys do want to go with something else, then I would recommend Stalker. Walk faster while aiming. And the reason you would obviously want to do this is because, let's just say if you're shooting at a horde of zombies while aiming down sights, especially if you're trying to get headshot kills, then you could just back away from that horde faster, keeping yourself safer for a longer period of time before you have to stop aiming at them and then, get more distance. You guys know how zombies works. And that's also a really solid choice. But there is one kind of wild card here, which is Free Faller, become immune to fall damage. And most of the time, I would say never run this because the other two are just way better. But there is very specific situations where you would want to use this. An example of this is if you're on Liberty Falls and you're doing the top of the bank camping strategy and you just need to fall off the building sometimes in order to save your life. But if you don't have this equipped to become immune to fall damage, you'll actually take fall damage, which could sometimes bring your death. So definitely keep that in mind. But for the most part, I'd recommend Dasher and again Stalker after that. For the minor augments, the one I recommend is Hard Target. While tactical sprinting, projectile damage is reduced. And the reason I say this is obviously, especially if you combo it with Dasher, there's going to be a lot of things in the game that have range attacks, whether it is the cannon from the Mangler, the parasites, or even the upcoming map Citadel de Mor. It's a doppelganger thing, Doppelgangers I think it's called, also is going to have a range attack. And anything to reduce that damage is going to be a good thing. Now, it doesn't reduce it by a crazy amount, but I still think it's worth using over the other ones. Now, the only other ones that you would probably want to use is maybe Quarterback, use equipment while sprinting, but I haven't found myself using equipment much in this game, so I don't think it's really that big of a deal, and we're just going to ignore the last one because, like I said, we are not talking about useless ones. Now for Quick Revive. Now, it's major augment. I'm be straight up with you guys, you shouldn't be using anything else besides Dying Wish, and what it does is on lethal damage become immune to all damage for 2 seconds and keep 1 health. Quick Revive is removed, and something it doesn't say in the description but is also true, this only works 3 times per game. And this is just the way better option. People talk about equivalent exchange, where it works similarly. Like if you have Quick Revive while down, killing an enemy will revive you and remove Quick Revive. This can only be used 3 times. Now, the reason why Dying Wish is just straight up obviously better is because both of them will save you from using a self-revive. But the reason it's better with Dying Wish is because you don't actually have to go down and lose almost all your perks. Like equivalent exchange only saves like the perks on your bleed out timer, which is at maximum 3, whereas Dying Wish, when it activates, it's going to save all your perks. So don't even mess around, guys. Dying Wish is way better. Now for minor augments, I only recommend Swift Recovery. Reviving an ally increases both of your movement speeds for a short time. This is just great because when you revive an ally, both you guys just zoom away from all the damage. It's really good. I know some people talk about Karmatic Return. Reviving an ally heals you to full health, but that only really works works for you. And I mean, I just feel like it's more important to get away from especially in a game like this, get away from all the zombies instead of just, you know, staying there getting full health, because you'll heal up pretty fast if you have quick revive anyways. Now for Juggernog, this one's a fun one, actually a really cool one, because what I actually recommend using for your major is probiotics. Slightly increase your maximum health with Juggernog. Now what this does in reality is actually make your health go from 250 to 300, which is 50 more health, which is a really big deal. But then another really cool one is reactive armor. When an armor plate breaks, nearby enemies, normal enemies, are stunned for a short time. And that's really cool. Like, if you guys just see the gameplay you have of it, if you used it, it's really cool. It's like, it could potentially save your life. And I know it may seem like the cooler option here, reactive armor, and if you want to use it, I don't blame you. It is really good. But I think by far probiotic really is the better one, because that 50 health gives you so much extra hits against a zombie. Like, you will be able to take so much extra hits, because you have to keep in mind, in this game there's also armor that mitigates that damage. So this could add potentially 5 more hits to your down compared to if you ran reactive armor. And don't get me wrong, reactive armor is really powerful and really cool, but really, I think when you break it down objectively, probiotic is probably the better one to run. It's going to just let you survive in more situations, whereas reactive armor is really solid. But again, it's just one I won't blame you for choosing other ones, but I do recommend probiotic over it. And ignore turtle shell, guys, please. It's not good. For its minor augment, I don't think it's close here. It's hardened plates. Armor plates have more damage mitigation, and especially if you combo this with probiotic, oh my gosh, you're going to be able to take so many hits from zombies and not go down. Like, it is really, really broken with that combo. I know some people want to talk about durable plates, like slightly increase armor durability, but like, I can't imagine why you would want that. It's for either of them. Like, even reactive armor, if you're running that instead of probiotic, like, it just doesn't make sense. It's hardened plates is the better one. Don't mess around. Now melee Macchiato. For its major augments, you're going to probably want to run Espresso. All melee attacks are slightly faster. And I know some people want to bring up triple shot. Your punch can hit multiple enemies at once, but that is something you have to be clear here. It says your punch, not your melee. So if you're using a knife, the bat, or whatever it may be, triple shot just straight up doesn't work for you, where with Espresso it works all the time. So that's a really important thing to keep in mind. Now, of course, there's also the final one, which is Vampiric Extraction. Melee attacks heal a small amount of your health, which is definitely not one to sneeze at. Like, being able to heal, you know, means you can just swing at zombies for longer. But I mean, just the speed boost Espresso gives to your melee attacks is just way worth it, guys. Like, you'll be able to kill way more zombies way faster with your melee. So it's not even like a conversation, to be completely honest. So Espresso's the one to run. Now, for its minor augments, I know one thing I want to clear out of the way again is strength training. Don't use this. Your punch can one hit kill normal enemies for more rounds, and that's the clear thing, guys. Read that, punch, not melees. This only works for your punches. So I don't really think people are using the melee, like the punch melee. They want this melee Macchiato to help their melee weapons, especially with Citadel de Mort coming out with a melee wonder weapon. Like, this is straight up not going to help that. So stick and move is the one I would recommend in most case scenarios. Backpedal speed is increased after a successful melee attack. It just lets you get away from zombies faster by backpedaling. Now, there are some specific situations where you do want to use hidden impact. Melee kills reload a portion of your held weapon. That's definitely solid, especially if you combo it with Void Sheath, which we'll get into later. But it's definitely could be really good, especially for strategies on Liberty Falls, high round strategies, especially when you want to get your, I guess, jet gun off a cooldown faster. This is a great way to do that. But in the vast majority of situations, I don't think it's nearly as important, especially if you're not like using a wonder weapon or something like that. It's just not as good as stick and move. Now, Speed of Cola. For its major augments, it's not really close, guys. Classic formula, reload speed is even faster. Like, it brings back that OG Speed Cola. Like, you reload super fast, and you really can't beat that. Now, the only time you shouldn't use classic formula is if you're using a gun that doesn't need to reload, which obviously if you're going to be using the jet gun on Liberty Falls, or even potentially, well, it hasn't came out by the time I'm recording this, but it seems like on Citadel de Mor, it's wonder weapons, you won't have to reload those either. So potentially if you're a situation like that, you can ignore classic formula. But if you are going to be using guns that are going to have to be reloaded, classic formula is the one to go. Now, if you are using a different one, I wouldn't recommend Phantom Reload. Instead, I'd recommend Supercharge. Field upgrades recharge a bit faster, just because what else is there to use? Now, for the minor augments, it's really between two. It is between Speedy Roulette, the mystery box settles more faster, and Swap Reload, swap weapons faster. Now, I think the vast majority of the time you should use quick swap, just because more situations that's going to be more helpful in to be able to swap between your weapons, especially if you're using a strat or just using multiple guns in general. But I guess if you're planning to not use multiple guns, you could use something else. Now, PhD Flopper, this is one I've been needing to talk about because I've seen so many people run the wrong major augment. And the one that I see people run is PhD Slider. Sliding into enemies triggers an explosion. And don't get me wrong, this is really cool. Like, it is super cool. But it just doesn't kill that many zombies, and it doesn't even get a decent amount of zombies out of your way when you're using it. Like, it's not that great, and because of that, I don't like it. And instead, I want to use one that's actually going to save my life a lot, and that's going to be Dr. Ram. Tactical sprints, knockdowns, and damages base zombies. And I mean, just look at this gameplay, for example, right here. Like, I don't want to point out the gameplay, but like, look at this. I just run through all these zombies that should have blocked me and should have stuck me and got me surrounded by zombies and put me in a much tighter situation. But Dr. Ram just lets me run through them. And that's so good in so many situations. It's going to make your life so much easier, save your life so much more often, and not really even save your life. It's just going to avoid situations where your life even needs to be saved. You're going to be saving your field upgrade activations or just any get out of jail free guards you have. You won't have to activate them as much because Dr. Ram is just going to let you run through that zombie. Now, for the minor augment though, it's not close here. It's Tribologist. Sliding distance and speed are increased. This just lets you move around the map so much faster, especially comboing it with Stamina Up and Dasher. Like, you're just going to be flying around the map with that combo. Like, trust me, it's going to be great. Now, Deadshot Daiquiri, this one's a fun one because it's major augments. It's really a choice between Deadhead and Dead First. Now, what Deadhead does is further increase critical damage. And what that really does, if you break it down, is going to give you a 5% increase to critical damage, which it's by default 10%, but this is going to bump it up to that 15%. Where Dead First, on the other hand, will deal double critical damage if an enemy is at full health. Now, really the best way to break this down is that Dead First is better at killing regular zombies up to round 30. That's just what it's better at, flat out. And to be honest, that's the only time you're really going to use regular guns to kill zombies. But if you want something that's going to be better to kill manglers, mini bosses, and especially Easter egg bosses, Deadhead is the better one. It's just going to be flat out better because those zombies and bosses take more shots to kill, thus making Deadhead better over time. Now, for the minor augments, it's not close. It is Dead Break. Increased damage to armor pieces. Like, we all know the armored zombies, the manglers, and all the different things that have armor in this game. It's annoying, and it's just better to get through that faster. And the other two minors are just not worth it. Now for Elemental Pop, and this one is not even close again. Run Electric Cherry, guys. Just run it. Like, I don't even think I need to explain anything else. Electric Cherry will save your life more than anything else. Like, you could just constantly stun a whole mini boss over and over and over again. Like, elite enemies could like corner you and you could be completely fine because of Electric Cherry. It is so good. It is a no-brainer here. Run Electric Cherry. Now for the minors, it's another situation that is a no-brainer. Vulnerable Being, slightly increase enemies' elemental weakness damage. Now I had to calculate this myself, so I could be wrong here, but this seems to give you a crazy boost. Because what this does is give you 5 to 15% based off of different situations, but well, 5 to 15% damage boost against enemies and their elemental weakness. Like, that's a huge boost. Like, that's humongous. Like, keep in mind that Deadshot Daiquiri with Deadhead is giving you a 15% boost only to critical shots, but with Vulnerable Being, that does it to any mini boss or even Easter egg boss. It makes their weakness 15% stronger, gives you a 15% stronger boost. It is really that good. It's not a question. Use this. Now for Dead Wire. The first one's Chain Link. The stunned enemy can spread the stun to others. Like, this one's cool, and something it actually doesn't say here is that it actually gives a damage boost to Dead Wire, because Dead Wire normally just stuns enemies and freezes them in place. It doesn't really kill them, where if you use Chain Link, it will kill 1 or 2 or 3. But that's the problem with this one. It says, sure, it could kill, but like, it's only killing 1 or 2 or 3, and I don't really think that's really that great. So instead, I think you should focus on using Lightning Strike. A bolt of damage strikes down from above, stunning normal and special enemies in the area. Like, first off, this just looks really cool. Like, that's amazing. And it just stuns a whole horde of zombies, potentially, if you're shooting into a horde, and just makes it easier to shoot at them. It's just really cool. But something you have to keep in mind overall is that Dead Wire, think of it more as a way to stun enemies than actually kill them. Now, for the minor augment, I think the choice is between Haste, Dead Wire's cooldown is slightly reduced, which for obvious reasons, because you can stun them more often, or Extension, the stun and electric field lasts longer. And that's cool and all, but I would just rather have Dead Wire activate more often, so I would recommend using Haste. Now for Napalm Burst. I'm gonna be honest with you guys, all the major augments are pretty bad. I've tested them all, they're not great, they don't kill zombies, they're all garbage, they like barely do any damage at all. So what I just ended up running was big game. Napalm Burst can activate on elite enemies, which whatever, but it's, you know, it's just Napalm Burst is not that good against regular enemies. But obviously the reason you want to run it is because it's good against Manglers, and we all know about the Mangler problem in Black Ops 6. Now for the minor augments, I don't care, guys. I'm gonna be straight up, it's garbage. It's not going to really help you do anything. Like, you literally choose any one you want. It's not going to make a difference. It doesn't make Napalm Burst any better or any worse. It's just existing. Now for Cryo Freeze. I think the obvious choice here is Ice Cloud. Enemies that are killed while frozen may leave a cloud that slows down enemies. Like, especially if you're camping, this is a great way to just slow down zombies from getting closer to you, especially if you're working on those headshots or whatever it may be. It's just a great way to be safer while you're camping a bit longer. It's really cool. The other ones I just don't think are as good, so that's one I would recommend. But for the minor, this is actually much more important, because there's one that is clearly better than the rest, and it is Liquid Nitrogen. Significantly increase your chances for Cryo Freeze to activate. Like, guys, just use it, guys. It's amazing. It's going to let you activate Cryo Freeze like almost all the time. It's so good. Use Liquid Nitrogen. Now, Brain Rot. Now, pay attention for this one, because I'm actually going to make Brain Rot so useful, because what you should do is ignore any other major augment except Pheromone. The charmed enemy distracts nearby normal and special enemies for a short time. Now, this is great for so many reasons, because this is just like a mini monkey bomb that could randomly activate and just keeps the zombies off you for a little bit. But on top of that, you will never have to worry about Brain Rot accidentally activating on the second to last zombie and ending the round ever again, because with Pheromone, the Brain Rot zombie just stands in place and attracts other enemies and will not attack them. But for the minor augments, it's again going to be a situation of using Haste. Brain Rot's cooldown is slightly reduced, and that's just because you want that Pheromone effect to activate more often. It's really cool. Now, Shadow Rift. This is the good one. This is so good that I actually perma-locked it, but the reason why is because of this first major augment, and that is big game. Shadow Rift can activate on elite enemies. And yes, this is the only one time where big game is actually useful, because this will actually insta-kill elite enemies up to a certain round. Eventually it doesn't, but like for the most part, when you're going to be playing most time, this will insta-kill him if you get Shadow Rift to activate while shooting an elite enemy. It is that good. It just teleports an elite enemy up in the sky, drops him down, and he's dead now. Now for the minor augment, I'd actually recommend Target. Dropped enemies will fall on other enemies, and this was simply because it's just going to kill more enemies this way, because not only is it killing the enemies that it teleported away, but now those zombies are actually going to drop on other zombies, killing those ones too. It quite literally doubles the amount of enemies that it kills, so definitely use Target. It's not close. But now Energy Mind, and this hurts my soul to say, but Scattered is the best one. The Energy Mine will split into 3 mines that scatter and detonate 1 each time. And I mean, that's just like the regular Energy Mine effect, except just, you know, bigger explosions. But like, it sucks because The other two are so cool, and they're so cool. Even though I know Scattered's the better one, I'll still run the other ones. I mean, they're just so cool. Like Turret, instead of detonating, Energy Mine becomes a turret and shoots at targets one at a time. That's cool. And Carousel, 3 energy mines will float around you, detonating when an enemy is nearby. Like, come on, those are so cool. Like, I like them so much. Like, visually and idea wise, they're like so cool. But unfortunately, Scatter just kills more enemies, so technically it's better. Now, for its minor augment, I think the best one to run is Siren. Energy mines now attract nearby normal enemies for a short time, and especially if you're using Scattered, it's going to kill more zombies that way, and that's kind of the whole point of it. But if you want to use frequency boost, increase the detonation count and duration of energy mine, that's also a really solid choice too. Now, Frenzied Guard, I'm gonna be honest guys, I've only ran Frenzied Guard to test it for this video, and I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I can't tell the difference between using any of these major augments and minor augments. Like, I'm going to give you my recommendations, but really I don't think you should be running Frenzied to begin with. But regardless though, the major augment I'd recommend is Frenzied Fires. While Frenzied, shoot from your ammo stock, just because you don't have to reload. It's nice. Maybe if you're like running the Easter egg or something like that, you just not have to worry about reloading for a little bit, or I don't know. So think of a situation that's useful. And for its minor, repair boost, repair more armor per kill. You know, that's whatever. Now for Dark Flare, and this one hurts my soul again because I want to recommend to use Supernova, but unfortunately it's just not that good. It's really cool, but it's not that good. But what Supernova does is the beam is replaced with a sphere that could damage enemy as it travels and detonates at the end of Dark Flare's duration. Like, it's cool, but it's not that good. So instead, what I recommend is using extensions. Significantly increase Dark Flare's duration. Like, it's just obviously better because you'll be able to kill more enemies with that. Now for the minor augments, I highly recommend you use Heavy Shadow. The beam slows enemies on contact, and the reason this is the case is because Dark Flare is kind of useless without this, because the problem is Dark Flare takes a little bit to kill enemies, and you don't want them catching up to you while you're in the middle of using it. So just keep them away from you as much as possible, and that's why I highly recommend Heavy Shadow. Now, Healing Aura. For its major augment, it's not really close. It's persistent. Revive players keep all their perks on their bleed out bars, just because like it's just the best way to help your teammates keep their perks. Like the other ones like are whatever. This is like the whole point of Healing Aura, is to save your teammates and keep their situation as good as possible. Now for the minor augment, the one I would recommend is Stoic Presence. On activation, special and elite enemies are stunned and normal enemies are knocked down, which is great because you don't want to revive your teammate and just have them die immediately after, right? So that's a great way to just keep them alive longer. But now for the big one, Aether Shroud, the one pretty much everyone's running, so you should have just skipped to this point anyways. Now in most situations, I'm going to recommend you guys Burst Dash. Warp forward to short distance, killing all normal enemies in your path, because that's really cool. Just kill the zombies, especially if you were in a tight situation. You want to stay stuck in it, right? You want to activate Aether Shroud and get stuck between all those zombies and not be able to escape by the time Aether Shroud runs out. But even though that's the one I recommend in most cases, there's actually reasons to use the other one. Now, they're very unique cases, but they're still cool nonetheless. Now, Void Sheath, swap to your dedicated melee weapon as it's imbued with Dark Ether energy. Kills allow you to stay in Aether Shroud for longer. That's really good for a couple different things, like if you're upgrading your melee weapons, or on top of that, if you're doing a Liberty Falls high round strategy, and I'm sure there's going to be other strategies that use this in the future too, especially to deal with just manglers in general on higher rounds, but this definitely solid for that. And Group Shroud, nearby enemies are also cloaked, is great just to activate to make everyone cloaked at the same time, especially if like you're doing an Easter egg run and all of you are just ignored by zombies and you guys could just all focus on the boss for a little bit. Like, that's a lot of damage you could put in. Like, that's great. So there's definitely situations for all of them, and just based on what you're doing in your game, definitely use these. Now for the minor augment, I used to recommend Extra Charge, increase max charge by 1, but Treyarch recently nerfed that into the ground, and getting that second Extra Charge takes forever, and it's much better just to put on Extension. Aether Shroud duration is significantly increased, and this is obvious reason. You just get to stay in Aether Shroud a lot longer. This is going to help you no matter which strategy you're doing. It's going to help you put more bullets into the boss if that's what you were doing, or just get away from the bad situation used to get out of it, or it's going to help you get more time to get your jet gun on cooldown. Like, all that stuff's just great. So even though the other two minor augments are solid, Extension's just way better. And that's all of the different augments and what at least I know are the best ways to use them. But like I said at the start of the video, if I missed something, let me know. I'd love to hear all that down in the comment section below. I want to learn more about augments too. But that's going to wrap up this video for me. Thank you guys all so much for watching, but I'm going to go and I'll catch you guys in the next one.